Good morning and welcome to my garden. It's September, it's now spring, and the weather certainly has changed. We've had our first day over 30 degrees during the day, and we've no longer got nights below 10 degrees. So spring is definitely here. I've had the opportunity to spend more time in my garden over the last couple of weeks, and I've been thrilled to be able to establish some watering systems here. So this is the East Wedge Garden, and you can see that I've pulled out all the other vegetables that were in here, with the exception of a couple of carrots that are underdeveloped and the spring onions, which I'm still harvesting. This garden here is intended to be one of the beautiful features beside my future pond. And so I have now established some of the lilies I'm going to have in the garden. Not only do I have the society garlic, but I've also got this bulb. I have them planted all along the side here and along the side here. I've also planted this larger lily, and I have these agapanthus here. So that's going to be beautiful colour. These 4 rows here, I've actually planted corn seeds around them. I'm aiming to get a last vegetable harvest from this garden before it becomes ornamental. Around the edges here, I have rosella planted in the corner, and then beside every dripper, I have planted bush beans all the way around the edge of the garden. I will move this spring onion, but I'm going to do that as I use it. Generally, when I harvest spring onion, I chop it off and it regrows. Well, this time I won't chop it off again. I'll actually pull out the whole plant, and then I'll chop off this much, use the rest, and then I'll plant the rest in another garden. I've also left seeds to develop on one of the plants. Not that there's much of the stem left to support it, but when they ripen, I'll harvest those seeds so I can plant them via seed next season. This is going to be a really pretty garden. The watering system is going to help to keep it all alive too. Contour 1 on the east has also received a watering system. This garden has never been regularly watered, and I think it's always looked like it too. My yacon is growing. These capsicum plants have been here for a couple of seasons and not done well, probably because they don't have a watering system. I've also come to the conclusion that this soil, while it looks great in structure, is not very fertile. And so I'm going to have to put some fertiliser on it. Yeah, they've all really appreciated the new watering system. We've got lots of flowers coming all over. I've also planted some okra here and here. I know that these plants suffer in the hot sun. While the papayas were supposed to provide some summer shade, I'm not sure that they will this year. So the okra will provide shade here and here. Now that I'm watering these plants, they're not growing very tall, which is interesting, but they're growing very thick. These are sweet peas, and they're going to grow up the trellis and give me beautiful colour. On the other side here, they've grown a lot taller, but not as thick. So these ones had water and these ones didn't. We'll see how the growth changes now that they do. My nectarine at the back here, the little one that I transplanted, it's doing well. I've had to knock off the shoots down the stem a few times. Now it looks like it has a central leader that will continue to grow, so I'll keep an eye on that. This papaya, there were no leaves at the top at all. I chopped the top off it so it could re-sprout here. You can see the top looks pretty dried out. There are some cracks that could let moisture in down the stem, but we'll see how that goes and see if that continues to live well enough to allow these side shoots here to become branches and produce fruit. My nectarines have flowers on them. It's very exciting. Looks like this pineapple had a papaya drop on it, and it looks almost ripe. There's still a bit of green in the top part here, so I might leave it for another couple of days. My apricot hasn't come back to life in spring yet. I've been keeping it nicely pruned so that it's got a nice open shape. You can see, you can look down the centre here and it's nice and open and it's nice and flat, so it's not going to be growing over the vegetables either. Looks like I've got another pineapple coming. This nectarine has also shot lots of leaf and its first 2 flowers. I'm going to prune off all these little shoots down here that are growing towards the centre. You don't want shoots growing towards the centre, it'll just clutter up all the work I've done. Are you enjoying this video? Let me know. Write me a comment or hit the like button. It'd be good to hear from you. I am thrilled to have my strawberries doing so well. I planted 8 different varieties of strawberries here, and there's a variety of flower shapes. Here's a different strawberry flower. What's this got? This one's got 6 petals. This is a rose-shaped one. It had some very rosy-shaped petals. Oh, this isn't doing so well. I'm getting some fruit. My rhubarb is growing well there. So that one and this one were both grown from a crown. My asparagus, yay, the last one has finally come up. Didn't know if this one was going to come up, so it's good to see that one up too. Look how thick the spears are. They're good sized spears, and I have been harvesting some. So it's lovely to finally be able to eat my asparagus. You see my asparagus cages, as I call them. They're just to keep the fronds up straight because they often do fall over the garden and smother other plants. The roses I've planted here are doing really, really well. It's my first time growing roses. Lots of new growth on them, so it's very pleasing. The arrowroot has not done well in this dry winter. It's actually looking quite sad. It's flowering and it's falling over. I will prune that down. I have not harvested any sugarcane yet. I haven't quite got a plan for what to do with that, so that can stay there as a windbreak. Maybe I should chop down every second one to encourage them to regrow fresh and strong. Let's have a look at the mangoes. Oh, look at this. My mangoes have flowers. I didn't know a mango could flower when it's that small. Being a seed-raised mango, I don't know what variety it is. Being a seed-raised mango, you'd expect it to take more than 2 years to flower and fruit. So we'll have to see if these flowers actually turn into fruit. We have volunteer tomatoes everywhere. Ah, yes, and more mango flowers. Very lovely. And a ladybug dealing with the pests for me. You can see that over the last weeks I've had a great opportunity to keep the eastern side of my garden tidy, and it looks very cultivated and very neat. It looks very different from the other side of the garden. Contour one in the middle. I'm still picking some of these shallots, but they're dying back, so I've pulled out whole clump and planted a few from the clump so that they can grow again. I'm going to need to start moving them to another place so they don't regrow in the same location over and over. I've got some new growth on my lime tree, so that needs a good prune to deal with all these crossing branches and these branches going upwards and inwards. Open that up and let it fruit again just beautifully. My lemon tree's covered in fruit again. Oh look, and some new flowers. That's great. I've got some tomatoes growing here and I've chosen to bag them because they are a larger size. Any larger size tomatoes I grow in this garden do get stung by fruit fly, so I bag all my larger tomatoes. Another lime tree, it's looking like it needs another prune as well. Open that up, prepare it for growth. I've got a few last carrots left in this garden. They don't appear to be growing so big, but there might be a couple of good sized ones in there. Let's have a look. Actually, that one's an orange carrot. I choose to leave that one there to go to seed. And it looks like the seed head is already starting to form. You see it's got a thicker stem here. That's the first stage of producing a seed head. And that one's also an orange. Yeah, I choose to leave these here to become seed for next season. It seems that yellow carrots and purple carrots go to seed very quickly. Not so these red ones. So if I can wait for them to go to seed, that'll be good. Now the northern side of the garden, as you can see, it's a little bit more overgrown, a little less controlled, but that's okay. My tomato vine here has almost finished. It's produced a lot of tomatoes. In the early times, it produced very large trusses of tomatoes. In fact, there was a truss of tomato growing here that had 22 tomatoes on one stem, and they were all pretty good sized. As this bush gets older, the tomatoes are significantly smaller. I'm wondering if that is evidence that it was getting hungry. Everything's in flower on this side of the garden. Basil, I've got a lot of yellow carrots here that have gone to seed. There's a brassica there that's gone to seed, some lettuce that's working on going to seed. I have a gorgeous gerbera that my sister gave me for Christmas. Yeah, it's so pretty. I've been bagging my mulberries to keep the birds off, and I noticed just now that it's also keeping insects off. So I'm rather happy with that. You can see I haven't managed to bag the whole tree. I ran out of big bags. But I've been very pleased to note that it's already been effective. We had cookie shrikes coming and stealing my mulberries. And since I put the bags on the tree, I haven't seen them at the tree at all. So it seems that they are a deterrent as much as they are a protection. I am picking some nice orange carrots from in here. I've had some really big ones. I picked 4 the other day and it made 800 grams, so that was a good harvest. Contour 1 on the north. The chop and drop row has been pretty much taken over by this chickweed and with carrot weed. Now the carrot weed I don't like. They're reasonably hard to pull out because they're such a deep taproot. And all these little seeds are very prolific at spreading. The chickweed, on the other hand, tends to die down in summer, so it's really not that much of a problem. The chickens have enjoyed what we've taken them. I'm quite pleased to see this Braina has come back. I thought it was going to die after I chopped and dropped it last year, but it's come back. Unfortunately, it's so close to the trellis that I'm going to have to try and move it. So I don't know whether it'll survive being moved. The sweet peas on this trellis are growing quite well, and it looks like I've got my first flowers forming. This Ceylon spinach has been very delicious. I often eat the leaves as I'm walking through the garden, and so you can see the top stems look pretty naked. The sweet peas over here are growing well, and I just have to keep feeding it back through the trellis, and it'll hang on and it'll grow. It is a very happy looking cabbage, very healthy. So all these carrots that have gone to seed, most of them are yellow carrots. I've been spreading the seeds around the garden. You can see the carrot seeds on this flower head. It's got little hairs on it. They're ready to be spread. So are these lettuce flowers. I'll spread them around the garden too. So lots of flowers in this garden. Oh, here's another carrot seed head that's all ready to go. Although this one doesn't have as many seeds. I'm hoping that by growing my own seeds, I will end up with a variety of carrot that produces lots of seeds. Contour 2 on the north. This side has become a jungle of brassicas, salvias and basils. Now the flowers are finished, I'm going to be getting seeds from these, which I can then scatter along the row again. Photinia is finally looking happy. I'm looking forward to that being a good chop and drop plant. Pigeon pea, salvia, brassica. That's got a lot of foliage on it. That's going to be a good chop and drop plant. Salvia. This leptospermum's a bit all over the place. I'm not sure it'll be an effective chop and drop plant, but it's another plant to add to the list of plants that I have here that are doing good things for the soil. I'm starting to get some papayas ripening again. They're not just moulding with the winter, they're actually ripening. So I'm going to pull off all the ones that were mouldy. You can see when I've pruned this bed, I've pruned the fruit trees so that they're straight down the centre. So they're not very broad and wide, but they're more central. I think I can let them spread out a little bit more to provide a bit more shade for the vegetables. Having gaps between them will mean that the vegetables aren't in all day shade. This bed has become a mixture of root vegetables and brassicas and other herbs since I harvested potatoes. So these are brown onions here, and you can see I've scattered some of my carrot seed just over the top, and the result is we have a lot of carrots popping up. There's a leek, celery, leftover carrot from this purple carrot that went to seed. There's still some seeds on it, and you can see what I mean about it having very prolific seed production. That has got far greater seed numbers than the yellow ever did. Lovely happy snapdragons. They are from last year. They're plants that flowered and grew and dropped their seed. These are red onions, and I have some celery here and some volunteer lettuce, and once again some carrots, but not so many there. Parsley. I've got a variety of carrot that looks almost orange, but it's not, it's more pink. Capsicum. This bed here is where I last harvested some potatoes. I got a really nice harvest of Kipfler potatoes in the last week. Kipfler potato has proven to be the most productive for this garden bed. It was also the one that was growing not in the shade of this poinciana. This is garlic. It's coming towards the end, and it might almost be ready to harvest. So this is white onions, and these are red onions. I planted in this section some potatoes that were all sprouting and shriveled. I soaked them in worm tea for a few hours, and then we planted them here. And here I planted some more giant Russian garlic, and it looks like we've got one of them coming up now. So that's exciting. I don't know if I can actually have a successful garlic harvest at this time of the year. It is rather humid and hot when the garlic will be being ready to be picked. I don't know if it'll just suffer from mold and whether humidity will cause problems for it. But I've got the space, so I may as well try. This end avocado has a funny colour to its leaf. Not sure what that means. It's all over this particular avocado. I haven't seen it on the others. I'll have to continue to observe and see if I can work out what it means. I continue to add succulents to this garden. That's an aloe vera, agave. The lemongrass I pulled out of the end here, I transferred to here. I actually just dumped it on the ground, and it looks like there are some live leaves in the centre. More agave. This agave is so big, I'm actually just going to chop it up and put it on the chop and drop row. This aloe vera is flowering. Now, we've had lots of little honey eaters here that have really enjoyed feasting on the succulent flowers that we've had around the property. And you can see I've got other succulents in the garden. I don't think they're going to be big enough to actually be effective chop and drop plants, but it is useful to put them in the ground because they can contribute to the mycorrhizal network underneath. My pigeon pea continues to grow. This cranberry hibiscus is producing the loveliest flowers. You can eat these leaves. You pick off the little ones and put them in a salad. Chop and drop row here just has not been receiving any love, but it looks like it's got some volunteers popping up. It also has some daikon radish from the former cover crop. We've had a couple to eat from here, but the rest have gone to seed. They've got pretty flowers. See the purple tips on the flowers? And the bees are just loving it. Let's pop over here. My blueberries are doing so well. I gave them some worm tea and some more sulphur, and they're absolutely loaded with flowers now. This is sunshine blue, and look how full with flowers it is. This one's Biloxi, and it does have some flowers. I guess it doesn't have as many branches to produce as many flowers as Sunshine Blue does. And Gulf Coast looks like it was producing fruit first. We have some fruit here, whereas the others don't have any set fruit. Now this one is a miracle fruit. Miracle fruit likes a very acidic soil and thrives at an acidity of 4.5, as do blueberries. So I've planted it here in a pot. My end goal for these, when we get the retainer wall built here, that we put another wall here at the front, creating like a raised garden. And I'll put my acidity loving plants in that raised garden along the wall, so I can add as much sulfur as they need through the year. Every time they're ready to start growing again, I can give them another dose of sulfur, and that'll keep the ground really acidic there for them. Back to contour 3. You can see this end is really rather overgrown. I haven't worried too much. I know the wallabies do come through here and nibble on some plants at this end. Here you go. There's some fresh droppings from this morning. So they definitely come through here. Last season I had corn and sweet potato here. The sweet potato didn't really thrive. I've planted it along the entire length here, and with the watering system, I guess the weeds have thrived as much as the sweet potato, and it looks like now I have a volunteer cherry tomato plant there too. My soil pile was reduced a little bit, and immediately we had the pardalotes coming back to test it out. Even as I was digging, they were over on the other side of the pile, seeing if they could find a way to dig into the pile of soil to build their new nest. Must be warmer weather. Sweet potatoes going nuts again. And it wasn't long ago I pruned it all off along the back to keep it off the fruit trees. Well, it's there again. So I'm going to have to prune that down and keep it in its space. Looks like we've got a lot of volunteer pea growing too. This is a native. This is a weed. And it can take over. Chickens are going nuts this morning. Contour 3 down this end. This is the purple-skinned sweet potato that we've had so much success with. I had harvested everything there was to harvest in here. Looks like it's coming back again now. I have celery here. Look at my fennel. This is the first time I've ever grown fennel. So it's a delight to see the seeds. I've been warned it can become a bit of a pest with too many seeds. So I'm going to have to watch those flowers, let the insects enjoy them, and then remove them before they seed all over the place. I've had some good little feeds of broccoli here. We haven't had a lot of broccoli off this plant, but it has continued to produce broccoli. And so we got just enough for our family of 4 to have little bits once a week. I've started harvesting my parsnip, and I tell you what, when you actually harvest parsnip when it's fresh and ready to be harvested, it tastes so good. Last season, I didn't know when to harvest it, and it was all dry and really unpleasant to eat by the time I actually harvested it. You can see this one's got a very large root, so it is definitely ready for harvest. My broad beans. Okay, so this year I didn't get around to staking them, to creating a grid of support wires. So they have just stayed there. And it's interesting to note, yes, we've had some that have fallen over. You can see here, this one's bending right down. And at the back, we've got one lying there. But on the whole group has seemed to hold itself upright, which is quite interesting to see. Yeah, we've got some more lying down here. So I think I'm going to try again next year, just planting them quite close to each other and allowing them to hold each other up. We've had one feed of pods. Looks like we've got some more pods coming. More interesting to note is the absolute attack we've had from aphids. There are so many aphids on this plant. Every single plant has been attacked by aphids, and I really don't know how they're producing anything. I don't want to spray, so they're having to deal with it themselves. I'm hoping that over time, the beneficial insects in my garden will learn where the aphids hide and will come and eat them. There is an aphid eating ladybird in there, I think these might be insects that are eating aphids too. Looks like there's a wasp in the top there that might be eating the aphids. So I do think I have some insects here that are taking on the aphids. So if I was to spray, I wouldn't just be killing off the aphids, I'd also be killing off the beneficial insects. And then that would mean I am trapped into having to spray so regularly to keep the aphids off, because I have prevented nature from dealing with them themselves. I mean, there are so many aphids there, I don't know how the other insects have got any chance of keeping control over them. This brassica patch can't quite keep up with us. We're eating more than it is able to produce. The cabbages didn't seem to grow at all during winter, but now that spring's coming on, I can see them growing little bits of heads in there. Looks like this one's got 3 heads on it. That purple cabbage looks like it's completely eaten out by something, and that one's also got 3 heads on it. Well, that's interesting. As expected, the pak choi, bok choy, they're all going to seed. And these cauliflower are just starting to heart. You can see the carrots that I sprinkled between everything, they're starting to grow nicely. My thyme and oregano are being useful. So there's my garden. The changing season makes it look very different. And when I've had time to do work on it, it has really completely changed what we see. Enjoy the changing seasons in your garden. I've heard it said that gardeners are very positive people because they always plan for the future. Yeah, that may be the case, but it doesn't mean we don't still struggle with thoughts and emotions and the rest of that stuff. Anyway, moving on.